Man, it was pretty cool because there was a lot of drama around it, and we are going to have words from Chris Jericho, I think, on next week's show, and in the fallout and whatnot. But, yeah, like I had not, just because of my schedule and Chris's schedule, like I had seen Chris in Orlando, during our TV tapings because, you know, he had a show and I'd popped down and whatnot. And that's actually a funny story as well, which I should probably tell quickly. So Chris texted me the first day I got to Orlando and basically said like, hey, I'm in town, et cetera, et cetera. Like we got a show at the fairgrounds. Why don't you pop down? So, Demore and I, get in the car to go and, didn't have a lot of time. And so we get there. And as you can imagine, like outdoor festival, like it's a gong show. And I just got like everything I hate about going to a live event outside. Like they've got it. Outdoor porta potties. It's hot. There's probably alligators everywhere. And like long walks and parking for marks. So I said to Scott, I'm like, okay, let me handle this. We're not parking here. We're not waiting in lines. We're not doing any of that. We're not walking. He's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, stop the truck. So we had an black SUV, stop the truck. I got into the back seat. So it looked like he was my driver. And I'm on the opposite side of him. I'm on the right side in the back seat. Pull up to the first security jabron and they go up to Scott because he's the driver. And Scott's like, I'm just the driver. And I start pounding on the side of the car going, excuse me. So the guy has to run around to me. And I'm like, I'm Don Callis. I'm with Sony Records. I go, two of my acts are on. One of them's on now. One of them's on right after. I said, I've been told to go to VIP parking. I have no idea where it is. This is poorly laid out. Where is VIP parking? And I need to know now. I don't have time for this. Oh, okay. Like just go there. Like they don't want to deal with me, right? I get two more layers. I go through two more layers of security doing that. So finally we get to the last, like where I can actually see the stage and it's like the kayfabe entrance at the side, but they've got a big gate and I can see this is the VIP parking. So I pull up and again, same thing. Hi, Sony Records. Listen, I'm late. Got an act on stage right now. I need to park this vehicle. Is this VIP parking? Because I was told I'm supposed to park in VIP parking immediately. Yes. Just park there. So I parked there. So now we hit the snafu because we actually get someone who's actually engaged in their job of providing security, who basically says, listen, you're supposed to have credentials. And I said, I don't have time for credentials. It reminded me of the old, badges. We don't need no stinking badges. But I'm like, I don't have any, I go, credentials. I go, I just got off a jet from Los Angeles. I don't have time for credentials. I got an act on right now. I said, I have to be on that stage. And they're like, well, I'm really sorry. Maybe you can call them. Like, so instead of arguing with this person, I see another entrance, like maybe 100 feet away. And I'm like, I'll try over there. So I go there and I see this security lady and she's on her telephone, FaceTiming with her child. And I'm like, well, this is perfect. So I'm like, excuse me. I said, my name's Don Callis with Sony Records. I said, I have an act on that stage right now. I need to get there. I said, I'm going to run around about my credentials. I said, I don't need credentials. I said, because I'm in the record business. Do you understand the record business? I need to be on that stage right now. And she just wanted me gone. So she's like, go ahead. So Scott and I walk in. So now we get to like the stage is raised and there's like a set of stairs that goes up to the stage at the side. So we're still not I'm not going to be satisfied because now I'm trying to prove a point to Demore that I can basically get in anywhere I want. So anyway, so now there's other security and they've now stopped Scott and they basically said, listen, why are you here? Who are you? And I'm like, I'm not going to be happy until like I'm actually on that thing. So now I can tell that they're about to approach me and they're about to say, hey, what are you doing here? You can't be here. So I immediately do the fake phone call gimmick, the Paul Heyman, pretend to be on my phone. And when they come up to me, I look very irritated. I'm like, yeah, can I help you? She's like, well, I just you don't have any credentials, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, I go, do you see that person on that stage right now? She's like, yeah. And I go, that person's production manager is on this phone. If you want to talk to them, they're asking me why the security has not brought me up onto that stage. And she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, do you know who Chris Jericho is? She's like, yes. I go, well, I am his personal agent and manager. I said, I was supposed to be up there 10 minutes ago. And I said, now the production manager is saying he's going to get people fired if I'm not up. Oh my God. So they give Scott and myself a escort. And so Chris had no idea that any of this is happening. He, of course, being him, just goes, oh yeah, just come down to the show, like made no arrangements for us. Literally, I was, as he's doing his rock star thing, jumping up and down or whatever, I am literally like 10 feet away at the side of the stage in full view and like maybe 3 feet from the drum kit and seriously contemplating going out on stage and like jumping up and down and dancing, but I know he'll probably punch me. So I decided not to. So that was, that's the backstory. So I hadn't talked or heard from him much since then because we were both super busy. He was on tour or whatever.
Can I jump in with one thing here?
Yeah.
It absolutely astounds me that you got that far without once waving your super elite card at anyone.
The super elite card comes in later.
I stand corrected. Please carry on.
Yeah, you can tell the hotel story later. So anyway, I hadn't talked to him, and I had kind of said like, "What's up with New Japan?" Because the last kind of iteration, usually with Chris's plans, it's like there's usually 3 people that know what Chris is doing: Chris, Barry Bloom, Mr. Barry, as I call him affectionately on New Japan, and myself. And that's just kind of the close circle. And, it's not that sometimes I'm asked for advice. Other times I'm just told what's happening or whatever. So I had not heard anything. And then all of a sudden I'm in Fukuoka and the usual people in the office who are sort of in the know, but not really, are asking me like, well, where's Jericho? Like, he's coming. Are you going out with Jericho tonight? I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And then I look, someone tweets at me and says, look what it's reporting on PW Insider and on the Observer. And of course I look and it says Chris Jericho is apparently on his way to Japan for this Wrestling Dontaku card, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Not weird that he didn't tell me because we just hadn't been in touch and it doesn't really matter. But weird because I'm not involved in the angle, but weird that how did this leak? Because Chris's stuff never leaks. So I just thought it was a work because I'm like, if it's leaked, that means he's not coming, right? And then I ended up texting him saying, hey, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. And he was sort of cryptic, like, not kayfabing, but kind of, and I'm like, okay, that must mean he's here. So I'm like, okay, fine. I don't care. So anyway, so now fast forward the first day, great matches, all that stuff in Fukuoka because we had 2 days there. So the first day Jericho's not there. So fine. So I'm like, my schedule there is basically like, cause I still have my Impact job and I know it's not like when I go to New Japan, I stop working. So my thing was get back to the hotel from the show at 10 o'clock. I slept from 10:30 till 12:45. So like an hour and 45 minutes. And then I went down to the lobby cause they had this nice business center and I literally set up shop in this empty lobby and worked from 1 a.m. until 6:30 in the morning in the lobby. Then I went to sleep for an hour, had breakfast and start again. So it's not glamorous. It's just grinding. So I get up the next morning. I don't know. Everyone's texting me like, where's Jericho? Have you seen Jericho? I'm like, I haven't talked to him and I've been working. So fine. So now, we go to the show. It's the second day of the show. And I wanted to do this interview with, the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. Well, we had to find a quiet place to do it. And my dressing room, which is also the New Japan's world room, is too loud and too busy. So I find this empty room with 2 couches in it, which coincidentally I remembered after this was the same room that Jericho used the last time he was there for his dressing room and where he tried to demonstrate the code breaker on me and busted my mouth open. So as I'm sitting there with Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, I'm like, oh, this is the room. So we do this great interview. You'll hear it later in the show. And then as I get up, I'm not going to get into detail, but I see a couple of things in this dressing room that lead me to believe that Mr. Jericho is probably making an appearance. So I text him and I say, haha, I'm in your dressing room right now. Don't kayfabe me, haha, whatever, right? So yeah, so now I go call the show and I don't know for sure what's happening, but Chris and I had a conversation at one point a few months ago about my black mask and about do people wear those things in the crowd, different things. So, I mean, I kind of knew that what we ended up seeing, that there was something in his head that went around that. And as he described it, kind of a combination of my idea and something he did with Rey Mysterio. I think it's a lot more like what he did with Ray than but doesn't matter. So now I'm out there calling. I don't clue Kevin in because I actually don't know what to tell Kevin because I don't know what's happening. And I actually don't want to know what's happening. And, so LIJ has a, 8-man match or whatever, and they're always entertaining. And Naito's Naito. He does his thing. He doesn't really sell very much. He's just kind of, he's the ungovernable. He's the wild child guy. And, so as I can see this starting to play out because the other LIJ guys all leave. Naito's in the ring. People are going crazy. They love Naito. And of course, when Naito goes to walk to the back like Tanahashi, everyone rushes the barricade. And so I'm watching this, but from my vantage, I can't really see it. I'm looking at it on the monitor. And all of a sudden I see this fan in a a Bushi mask, Mexican sugar skull style mask, and an LIJ sweatshirt, grab, like Naito shakes the guy's hand, but the guy pulls him in and punches him. And then I see this guy, looked like he whacked a fan too. And it turned out that I guess the fan wasn't letting him get where he needed to go. So Chris adjusted. Fan got to be part of the show. Hooray. And, so I just see this guy beating the shit out of Naito and taking him into the ring. And it was great because I don't think the people there really clued in that it was Chris. And Chris, people said, why does he have makeup on? It's like, well, he was kayfabing his white skin because the mask had a mouth hole and et cetera, et cetera. So Chris really, as usual, great attention to detail, attacked Naito, beat Naito senseless, busted him open with a ring bell. And then there's a great video online that you can get, like the post beatdown where Chris is leaving and he's just slapping the piss out of the young boys. He's swearing, he's throwing furniture, he's going after fans. It's tremendous. I mean, if you liked what he did with Omega, you're going to like this as well. So that was like just super cool. And it's like, whoa, I can't believe it. So that was, for me, obviously a highlight because now we're presumably going to get Jericho versus Naito in Osaka at Dominion, which is kind of the second biggest show of the year after the Tokyo Dome. But we also got treated to Will Ospreay versus Kushida, which was a phenomenal match. As you know, those two guys are just maybe the best guys, and along with Hiromu in the junior division. So that was awesome. And then one of the most emotional matches I've had a chance to call was Tanahashi Okada. And if you get a chance, I mean, if you're going to listen to any of my calls, listen to that one because I think it's on a level of the work that we did with Omega and Okada in the draw they had last year that people liked. Tanahashi just such a great wrestler and such a great seller and storyteller that it was just one of my favorite matches. And sometimes Okada matches are not my favorite matches. He's great, but it's just kind of, I don't know, but it's like, but Tanahashi's just so good. And it was just a great emotional story, you know, and in my heel mode, I think I had a quote, and you can follow them at Don Callis Quotes on Twitter, of congratulations, Gato and Okada. You just made an entire city miserable, because of course they went over. But the cool thing we got, even though we were all disappointed that Tanahashi didn't win, the cool thing we got is Okada challenged Kenny Omega to a match at Osaka saying, hey, listen, basically, you know, we're kind of 1-1-1, one win each, one tie. It can't end like this. Let's go no time limit at Osaka for the title. And Kenny said, okay, and 2 out of 3 falls. So we're going to get treated to Jericho versus Naito in Osaka, which will be incredible for the Intercontinental title, I'm assuming. And we're also going to get Okada versus Omega, no time limit, 2 out of 3 falls. There's going to be a winner. So we're going to put an end, I guess, to this feud. Someone's going to win, and that person will have won 2 matches, tied 1 and lost 1. And whether it's Kenny, and I hope it is Kenny, but whether it's Kenny or Okada, this kind of 1.5 year, 18-month journey is going to come to an end. So kind of like, I guess I would say, what an incredible night that was. And I don't know how much you heard about